Another article was released about the relationship between Catherine and Meghan, and I don't know why this is happening all right now at the end of 2024. Well, I mean, I have a pretty good idea why it's happening. So in this video, I'm going to go through that article and I'm going to dive into the relationship dynamics between the Fab Four, as they were dubbed in 2018. So if this is of interest to you, please get comfortable, get cozy, grab yourself a drink. I would love a hot chocolate right about now, and let's get into it. But before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. The article is titled, Meghan Markle is frustrated with Princess Catherine isn't stepping up more to help Prince Harry after she was dubbed the royal peacemaker. This article was just recently released in the last couple of days, the end of the year of 2024, and I wanted to look into this dubbing of Princess Catherine as the royal peacemaker, and this is what I found. I found reference to it in this article that I believe was published in 2021, so let's read a little bit from it. Prince Harry and his brother Prince William got some FaceTime in over the weekend, and it seems we have Princess Catherine to thank for it. As royal expert Katie Nicholl tells ET, Catherine has served as a peacemaker between the royal brothers. They were very tense as they walked into that chapel, Nicholl says of William and Harry, who reunited at the funeral of their grandfather, Prince Philip, at Windsor Castle on Saturday. As they came out of it, you could see some tension diffused, and I think that was largely down to the Duchess of Cambridge, who made a point of speaking to Harry. When she did that, you can see them visibly relax. I believe there's also pictures of the three of them walking out from the chapel, and I believe that at this point, Princess Catherine really was trying to perhaps be a mediator there. So let's talk about what happened by 2021. At this point in time, the Oprah interview had been released, but the Netflix 6-part documentary had not been released. So Meghan had already launched her campaign against the royal family, and Princess Catherine was one of the people who was discussed in the Oprah interview in a negative light. So it really is Princess Catherine being a bigger person here, trying to mediate the exchange between Harry and William. And I think it is because of this that the media did call her the peacemaker. Okay, so let's begin this article. Meghan Markle and Princess Catherine failed to find common ground during the Duchess's royal career, and Prince William and Prince Harry's inability to reconcile might widen the wedge between the royal wives even more so. I want to begin by saying that I believe Meghan Markle is a malignant narcissist. This is allegedly, and in my opinion. The reason I say this is because her behavior is very similar to my stepmom, who is a malignant narcissist. So I am approaching this with the experience that I had growing up with a malignant narcissist. Narcissists thrive on creating division and tension because it keeps them central to the narrative. A lot of Meghan's income depends on exploiting these relationships, and honestly, the greatest success they've had, Harry and Meghan have had since they left the royal family, is when they've talked negatively about the royal family. Everything else they've done, it seems to have flopped. I also want to mention that Meghan controls Harry, and one of the ways she does this is through isolation. So in order to retain her influence over Harry, it's in her best interest to widen this wedge that is discussed in this section of the article. I also want to mention how this implied wedge highlights Meghan's role in these escalating tensions between Harry and William. It positions herself as a key figure, influencing reconciliation efforts or the lack thereof. Before Harry and Meghan's wedding, there already had been a number of things that Catherine had seen in Meghan's behavior that, alerted the red flags. One of them was the baby brain comment. In Spare, Harry talked of an incident where Meghan allegedly told Catherine she had baby brain after the birth of Prince Louis. According to Harry, Catherine was offended by the remark, considering it inappropriate and overly familiar. One of the things that's a hallmark of relationships with narcissists is love bombing. And love bombing can occur romantically or it can occur in friendships. Love bombing is where a narcissist will try to create intimacy where intimacy is not earned. And this can be done in a number of ways. Like, for example, when Meghan answered the door in ripped jeans and barefoot during her first meeting with William and Catherine, I believe this was to create this air of intimacy that they are familiar and comfortable enough to wear these ripped jeans and go barefoot. I believe that this baby brain remark is offensive, and I believe Catherine's belief that this was inappropriate and overly familiar is absolutely right on. In my opinion, Meghan was trying to establish intimacy with Princess Catherine, and being able to comment in this way makes it appear that their relationship is closer and more intimate than time has allowed it to be. I also want to read you a couple of excerpts from Tom Bower's Revenge that describe this tension, if that's what you want to call it, between Catherine and Meghan before the wedding had even taken place. I'm on page 187. The tension troubled Catherine when she arrived with Charlotte, her 3-year-old daughter, at a fitting for the bridesmaids' dresses. By then, Kate was irritated by complaints of Meghan bullying her staff. One had complained that she was offhand, another that her temperament was haughty, displaying little sympathy for those outside her circle. Since she had just given birth to Louis, Kate was too fatigued to cope with a disagreement about whether the bridesmaids should wear tights. Following protocol, Kate believed they should. The Californian was uninterested in royal tradition. Her insistence was supported by Jessica Mulroney, present as an advisor and the mother of another bridesmaid, Ivy. Some would say that Meghan compared Ivy favorably against Charlotte. Others were surprised by Meghan's close attachment to Mulroney. That disagreement was followed by an argument about the length of Charlotte's hem. Kate thought it was too short and anyway did not fit. Melissa Tubati, Meghan's assistant, and the dress fitters employed by Givenchy's Claire Waite Keller witnessed Meghan emphatically reject Kate's observation. Compromise was not a trait Meghan embraced. The standoffs, Kate decided, confirmed the complaints by Tubati and other members of royal staff about Meghan. Kate burst into tears. Kirsty Alsop, a friend of Camilla, would later confirm that Kate was reduced to tears by Meghan bullying her staff. After leaving that unhappy scene, Kate decided to make amends. She crossed the Kensington Palace corridor and presented Meghan with a bunch of flowers. Kate also told Meghan not to speak rudely to her staff. That's unacceptable. What followed can never be irrefutably established. In Kate's version, Meghan slammed the door in her face and threw the flowers in the dustbin. Meghan would tell Oprah Winfrey that the tears were shed by her, not Kate, and the flowers were an apology. I think that's where everything changed, Meghan rightly said. Okay, let's summarize what happened here. Catherine knew that Meghan was not treating the staff well. She also knew that Meghan made a negative comment about Princess Charlotte. Meghan was emphatically denying royal tradition by refusing to have the little girls wear tights. And in the end, in order to establish peace, and really, again, here's another example of Catherine being a peacemaker, Catherine walked over to Meghan with flowers and apologized, even though in my opinion, Catherine didn't do anything wrong. But Catherine did reiterate in this conversation that it is unacceptable to treat the staff in such a negative way. I really admire Catherine for doing that. She stood her ground against Meghan, and she did it not for herself, but for the staff. It demonstrates Catherine's true empathy. I think Meghan has further widened this gap between herself and Catherine by portraying Catherine as distant, unsupportive, or overly traditional. And just based on these passages that I just read you, I don't see Catherine as being overly distant. I see Catherine as respecting others and also standing up for what's right. Okay, let's continue the article. Meghan is well aware that William has major reservations making peace with Harry, let alone inviting him back into the fold, the insider told an outlet. But she believes he would be a lot more inclined if he had more encouragement from others, especially Kate, who in her mind aren't doing enough to soften William's stance, the source noted. So just a note here that Meghan's the one that created the chaos, and she wants someone else to be responsible for making amends. I'm going to talk a little bit about narcissists and chaos later on in this video. Okay, I also want to mention that there is blame-shifting behavior happening here. Meghan is trying to make it seem she had no part in this conflict and the propagation of this family feud, and instead it's projecting onto Catherine for not facilitating peace between William and Harry. Also, I want to mention that this is all under the assumption that Meghan's PR team is responsible for this article, and just based on what we're reading, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's true, allegedly, and in my opinion. Okay, so by Meghan making it seem like Catherine's not doing enough, Meghan positions herself as a passive observer and even a victim, rather than the actual instigator of the conflict. I believe that the goal of this article was actually to erode the credibility of Catherine as a peacemaker. The goal of this article, in my opinion, is to call out Catherine for being unsuccessful, in quotation marks, for amending this relationship. The article continues, earlier this year, Catherine was diagnosed with cancer, and the insider claimed the Duchess of Sussex wants to be sensitive to the Princess of Wales's health despite their disagreements. Meghan is very anxious not to appear critical of Catherine, especially after what she's been through this year, the source noted. But at the same time, she does privately find it frustrating that she isn't stepping up more to help Harry, especially as she's touted as the peacemaker, they continued. Okay, I'm sure you've all heard this, but when you use the word but, you're negating everything you said before. In addition to that, notice the words here. Meghan is anxious not to appear critical. It's not that Meghan cares about Catherine, it's that she doesn't want the public to perceive her as critical of Princess Catherine. Also, this awareness of how the public might view her suggests calculated image management, which is a common narcissistic behavior. Privately, Meghan still expresses frustration with Catherine, keeping this narrative of blame alive. This dichotomy allows for Meghan to have this public facade of empathy while subtly framing Catherine as failing in her role, which then further perpetuates this conflict. Her expression of Catherine having to step up in a time of personal crisis, it actually demonstrates, in my opinion, a lack of empathy, and it indicates narcissistic entitlement, disregarding Catherine's well-being and putting Meghan's own goals for reconciliation first. I want to talk about the conflict that has happened between Harry and William that is so great that I don't think it's Catherine's responsibility to try to soften William. In my opinion, William is completely justified in being upset. So in the book Spare, Harry talks about a physical altercation and accused William of physically attacking him during an argument about Meghan. According to Harry, William called Meghan difficult, rude, and abrasive, which led to a heated confrontation. Harry claimed that William, in quotation marks, grabbed me by the collar, ripping my necklace, and knocked me to the floor. Harry also alleged that William and Catherine encouraged him to wear a bad costume to a party in 2005, claiming they, in quotation marks, howled with laughter when he showed them the outfit. This accusation, I think, shifts the blame from one of Harry's biggest public scandals onto William and Catherine. Harry also expressed frustration that William did not offer support when he struggled with mental health challenges, particularly in relation to the intense media scrutiny that Meghan faced. He described William as dismissive and unwilling to acknowledge the impact of the press and the royal pressures on Harry's well-being. Harry also suggested that William harbored jealousy toward him and Meghan, particularly when their popularity surged after the 2018 royal tour. He implied that William felt threatened by their success and viewed them as competition, which exacerbated tensions. Harry also accused William and his team of leaking negative stories about him and Meghan to the press to protect William's image. He suggested that William prioritized his own reputation at the expense of Harry and Meghan's privacy and well-being. The common themes in Harry's criticism of William include a lack of empathy and support. Harry repeatedly emphasized that William failed to stand by him during difficult times. He criticized William for aligning with the institution, portraying William as overly loyal to the monarchy, unwilling to question or challenge his practices. He also accused William of being jealous, fostering a competitive dynamic between them, particularly regarding public perception and popularity. And finally, there's a claim of physical altercation, which paints William as hot-tempered and unwilling to handle disagreements constructively. I say all this to demonstrate the things that are likely on William's heart that are preventing a reconciliation with Harry. I think these things are insurmountable, and I think it's unrealistic to think that Catherine would be responsible for this reconciliation. And notice the majority of the things that Harry is upset with William about, I think, stem from Meghan. That is done on purpose. So Meghan has created the chaos but expects someone else to solve it. So finally, to close this video out, I wanted to talk a little bit about why narcissists create chaos and then get mad at others for not doing enough to create peace. The first is a need for control. Narcissists create conflict as a way to destabilize situations and make themselves the center of attention. They want to dictate how others respond to the situation that they themselves have created. The second is they externalize responsibility. Narcissists avoid accountability and shift the burden of resolution onto others. They don't see themselves as part of the problem. The third reason is that they maintain a victim narrative. Playing the victim allows the narcissist to garner sympathy and attention. It also shifts focus away from their behavior. The fourth reason is to test loyalty. Narcissists test others' loyalty by creating situations that force them to prove their dedication. If people don't intervene or take their side, the narcissist views it as a betrayal. The fifth is an inflated sense of entitlement. Narcissists feel they deserve special treatment and expect others to prioritize their needs, even if they're the ones that created the problem. Narcissists also have black and white thinking. They view people as either allies or enemies. If someone doesn't immediately jump in to mediate or fix the problem, they interpret that as disloyalty. Narcissists are also really good at emotional manipulation. They use guilt and shame to pressure others into taking responsibility for fixing conflicts that the narcissist has actually caused, and this reinforces the narcissist's control over them. Narcissists also lack empathy, so they struggle to see things from others' perspectives. They focus solely on how the situation affects them, and they disregard others' efforts or challenges. And finally, narcissists need drama and attention. They thrive on conflict and chaos because it ensures that they remain the center of attention. Even if peace is restored, they might create new problems to keep the drama alive. So I'm curious to know what you all think about this. Please drop that in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you all soon. Goodbye.